So a very warm welcome from Derbyshire. We're at Darley Moor airfield. This is next RAF base. We're in the delightful flyboy sim Rans Coyote S6S, sort of ultralight or whatever the category is, with the Rotax engine, 2-seat enclosed, good for about 85 knots, and it's really lovely. Very basic aircraft. One or two things I like changing it, but really very good value and a lot of fun. And Darley Moor is a microlight, ultralight airfield these days, and it's ICAO is Echo Golf Mike Yankee, and we're going to be doing a spot of VFR flying today, but we're going to do it with a modern twist, and I'll explain that, because what we used to have to do in the olden days is plan a route using a CAA chart. And here we've got Darley Moor airfield. You can see my aeroplane's positioned there at the moment, and if we wanted to, for instance, fly to the route today we're going to take is going to be a bit of a round robin, so take off at Darley Moor, land at Darley Moor, but we're going to head eventually up to Chatsworth House, which is up here, okay, here. So what we would have to do is plot a line between, where you want to go. I can't even find it anymore. Where's it gone? Come back. There it is. It's there. Okay. So plot a line. So we just start a line from here to Chatsworth House, which is, I think, there we said it was. Okay. And we can see that is pretty much 020 or 019 degrees and 16.3 miles. Okay. So I'm just going to put that on screen. There we go. So that's a direct line between the two of them. And we would have to work out what the winds are at the altitude that we're going to fly at. So say, for instance, we're going to fly at 2,000 feet. We'd have to look at the Met Office charts and determine what the winds are at 2,000 feet, because of course winds will change with altitude. So generally, if there's a wind at ground level, let's call it 360 at 10 knots, so coming from the north at 10 knots, when you get to 2,000 feet, it'll be more like 015, 020 at 15, possibly even 20 knots. So they veer as you go up in altitude, and they reduce as you come down towards ground level. So you would have to get the wind from the Met Office, and if I just pull up Google Chrome, I've got windy.com here. It's a free site, and you can use this to get your winds at altitude. So let's go to where we are, and that is sort of here-ish, Matlock, so somewhere around here. We would go to altitude, and we would change this to 2,000 feet, and then you would click on the map, and it tells you the wind is coming from the northeast at 30 knots. Well, northeast is a bit sort of vague, really. It looks to me like it's 060, 070 possibly, at 30 knots anyway. The weather today is atrocious. We're not going to be flying with real weather, because that's just it. I mean, you'd be in the cafe having a cup of coffee, waiting for this to pass, or you would be at home watching telly, which is probably the more sensible thing to do. Thankfully, we're in a sim, so we can call them reserves to give us our weather, and we'll get to that in a second. So that's our wind. So let's call it 070 at 30 knots. Okay, and we know what our route, our leg is. So then you have to go to your wind protractor. And goodness me, it's a while since I've used one of these. And what you would have to do is to put the wind, mark the wind down on the scale here. So you would just move the central pip to a center point, Now the reason I'm doing this is that we're not going to use this technique now. We're going to do a modern twist on this, but let's just go through the motions just to show you what you would normally have had to do. So you just put the central marker on an easy to identify point. So we'll just do 100 knots, and we'll mark the wind on here. So it's 070 we've decided, or I've decided. There we go, 070, that'll do. It was 30 knots, so you mark 30 knots here. So we put a little dot there. Okay, that's 10, 20, 30 knots from our little marker. Then you would move this onto the your airspeed. So we just drop that down. We're going to fly at 85 knots today. Okay, so that's little red dot is still on the wind, 070, and it's still 30 knots above that. And then we would need to work out what our track is, and we had that on the little nav map, and the track was, let's just call it 020, it'd be much easier, 020. So 020, so you would then move this to 020, okay, and you would move the red dot to your airspeed there. Okay, so that's now, the red dot is now on 85, which is our airspeed. Okay, I think I'm doing this right. I'm not so sure at the moment. Anyway, I think if you visualize in your head the track that we're flying, 020, and the wind is coming from here, you can see we've got quite a considerable headwind component. Okay, so that would make sense that our ground speed is now something like 64 knots. See where the marker is here, and that we would have to fly, this line is 10, so 15 degrees right of 020, so our wind corrected track would be 035, okay, and our ground speed would be 64. So our wind correction angle would be 035. So we would have to fly 035 in order to maintain a ground track of 020, because the wind is coming from our right. And because it's coming from our right and it's strong, our ground speed is not going to be 85 knots, it's going to be considerably less. It's 64 knots. That's one part of the equation. The next part is how long is it going to take us to fly? Let's just bring little map back up. 16 miles. We'll just round it down. 16 miles. Okay. And let's go back to this. We need the other side of the whiz wheel. Okay. So we put this marker here on 64, which is how many miles we would do in an hour. There we go. So 60. No, that's not it. That's 64 there. My mouse is a bit sticky at the moment, so just forgive my fine motor control. So in 1 hour, it says 60 there, we would fly 64 miles. We want to fly 19 miles. So we just look at the top scale here. When we get to 19 here, we just move, look down at the scale below it, which is the number of minutes. It would take us nearly 18 minutes to fly 19 miles. Goodness me, that's quite a long stretch. But of course, it would be because we're flying end to end, so it's going to take us a bit longer. We would have to do this for every leg of our flight, okay, based on the winds at the altitude we've decided to fly at. And that might be because of airspace, it might be because of the minimum safe altitude. It might be hills and mountains nearby, okay. And of course, I've already discussed that winds change with altitude. So if you then decided to fly at 3,000 feet, you might have to repopulate all of the above fields, because the wind at 3,000 feet will be different to the 2,000 foot wind. So that's very complicated, isn't it? And you would have to fly a very precise heading at a very precise altitude for a very precise amount of time, okay? And that's sort of it's a great discipline. Great. It's great if you can do that in this simulator. But I also understand that maybe it's not for everybody. So there is an easier way to do all of the above, all that we've done so far. Okay, so I'm going to hide this whiz wheel. I'm going to hide little nav map, and I'm going to bring us to another favourite of mine, Plan G. And here's the route that we're going to fly. So Echo Golf Mike Yankee, Darley Moor is down here. Let me just go to switch off edit mode. There we go. It's down here, and we're going to fly first of all to the west. We're going to fly just south of, this is Alton Park here. We're going to fly to the south of Alton Park theme park. Then we're going to fly up to the northwest to Leek. These are all big visible waypoints, big town. Okay, there's a railway here. There's a lake. So we're going to go from Leek to Buxton. Okay, and when we start tracking northeast from Leek, there's a reservoir, and then here there is something called the Roaches, which I don't know if you've seen pictures of the Peak District with people sitting atop rocks and looking out over just a beautiful landscape. You know, those rocks, I believe they're actually here at the Roaches, and the Roaches is not like cockroaches. It's actually, my understanding is it's from rocher, or les roches, which is French for rocks, and this is just a natural cliff essentially. So easily visible landmark. So we've got the lake, the reservoir, the Roaches, and then we're going to fly parallel to a road. We're going to cross a road. Anyway, the first big town we get to is Buxton. I don't know why it's labelled as Manchester, but anyway, maybe it's a VRP. Then from Buxton, we're going to fly across directly to Chatsworth. Now we might change that because that's quite a long leg. Maybe not. Maybe that's okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. We'll do that. So then we're going to find Chatsworth House. After Chatsworth House, another turning point. We're going to fly to Matlock, and here it's quite fun because we're going to go past Darley Dale, and here Wensley. I think that's Wensleydale. A little nod to Wallace and Gromit. So we're going to get to Matlock. From Matlock, we're going to fly southwest to this big reservoir, Carsington Water, and then the home stretch back to Darley Moor. And here we'll see Ashbourne to our right, if it all goes well. Okay, so how can we do this in the modern style? Well, it's not Little Nav Map, this is Plan G. You can set it so that it will connect to your simulator and it will read your current winds. Okay, and if I just bring up the flight plan, there we go, it populates your wind corrected headings and the time required to fly those legs, and it does it on the fly. Of course, it means that you don't necessarily have to keep altitude, but I think that's a discipline you should try and do. Okay, if we plan this at 2,000 feet, try and fly it at 2,000 feet. But definitely what you have to do though is to follow the headings. Okay, and so what's clever about this is that it reads the winds and it just jigs the wind correction angles and the leg times according to the in-sim winds. And that's the big drawback of doing it the old school way, because you might get the winds from windy.com, you might get the winds from the Met Office, but that then begs whether you're actually getting those precise winds in the simulator, because you might be using real weather in your sim, you might be using Rex, you might be using Active Sky, Are they injecting the winds that you've planned for? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, this system, Plan G, actually reads the current winds, so your flight plan is always going to be correct. Okay, we're going to put it to the test now with Rex Weather Force, which is another weather favourite of mine. They're in my bad books at the moment because way back June 2024 I was flying into India after a long flight, and Rex just couldn't decode one of the Indian METAR reports because India does have a lot of smog, a lot of smoke related visibility issues, and Weather Force just couldn't decode that. And instead of landing in quarter of a mile visibility, which if you know me you'll understand that I really enjoy testing conditions. I prefer testing over mundane any day of the week, but to fly after a long flight, to arrive when you've got unlimited visibility instead of, you know, very limited visibility is a bit of a disappointment. And that was June 24, and they still haven't fixed it, despite a little dialogue with the Reed Slough, I think his name is, one of the managing partners of Rex. So I'm looking forward to an update from them at some point. But for now, we're going to use Weather Force and one of their dynamic weather presets. Now, you've got a stack of them here, maybe 10, 15, I don't know, different dynamic weather presets. So we're going to use one called Breezy. Now, what's good about these is that they change. If you generally enter in Flight Sim clear skies or few clouds or thunderstorms, it's a static situation. The weather does not change. It just sits there giving you the weather that is in that preset. What's great about the dynamic weather presets from Weather Force is that they change. Okay, they're not static, so the winds change, the barometric pressure changes, the visibility changes, the weather, it changes. Okay, and I like that in the sim. So we'll be using this, and because the winds will change, Plan G will read the winds in the sim and will always update us our heading and our leg times. Okay, we're going to have a look anyway. You know, what can go wrong? Well, probably quite a lot, but I think it's going to be quite fun. Now, I need to take this off the screen. Now, you'll see I'm going to connect now. So let me just go to the home page and press connect. Okay, and I haven't got my little airplane icon. That's not my airplane there. If I press F6, you'll see my airplane appear. There it is. But I'm going to take that off because I don't want to cheat. I don't want to look at the map, because the way I learnt was that you had a map on your kneeboard and it definitely did not have a moving aircraft on there. You had to look out the window and make darn sure you knew where you were. Okay, so I've switched my airplane off, but we are connected, which means it's going to get the winds from the sim. At the moment, we've got no weather switched on, so I'm going to take this off the screen. Okay, so I will see it and you won't. We're going to switch on this dynamic weather preset. Okay, and we just have to wait till it says it's injecting and then active or something. Let's have a look. Let's go and quick sip of coffee. So now it's squirting the weather in. I don't know if there are any clouds on this. There we go, it's completed. So now this this breezy wind scenario is live. So our winds will be live in the sim. They start off being just, you know, negligible, but they will build. Okay, so the astute amongst you will have noticed that I've got something running at the top left of the screen, and this is basically FS HUD, and that is a very customizable utility, and it can read loads of different sim variables. This is the most basic of the HUD bars that I've got installed. Basically just tells me the aircraft heading, I could, if I wanted to, add the current wind, the altitude, the sim rate, the autopilot modes, so on and so forth, and those you can interact with. Okay, but for now I've just got the magnetic heading of the aircraft, and I'll explain why. Let's go inside this little airplane. It's absolutely a delight. This my cup of tea, exactly. Very basic, okay, but in some ways not basic enough, because I don't think an aircraft like this really needs an AI. I mean, I think that's a bit out of place, really. I would like the developer to do, to make some changes, and maybe make the instruments configurable. So I would like to put a blanking plate over that, or maybe swap it out with a DI, direction indicator. I would also like this, the whiskey compass, to be replaced with what they call a compass card. It's still a whiskey compass, but instead of having the the headings shown around the whiskey compass in this format, it's actually displayed to you in a round circle, a bit like a DI. Okay, it's a bit easier to read when you've got tired eyes like mine, and because we we'll be flying sort of with this sort of view here, it's a bit hard for me to read, so that's why I've got FS HUD running up here with the present heading. Okay, it just makes it a bit easier. So I've got Plan G running on the other screen. If I click on Plan G, I will bring in the map, the flight plan. So I'll do that occasionally so you can see as well as me. We just need to check our fuel. What we're going to do is going to go to what we call tabs. Tabs is 66%, 2/3, and that's what we used to fly with at Beginner Hill. Enough fuel to get you where you want and back, and then some. And tabs is because when you look in the when you look inside the wing tanks, there's a little metal flange that's visible just when you open the cap, and at a glance you can see whether or not you're at tabs, or just slightly below, or just slightly above, and you know that flange is 2/3 full. So it was an easy to verify visual check. So I've just loaded it to tabs. Okay, so I guess we can get going. So what we're going to do, we're going to take off. I'm not sure where the wind is going to be from, so we'll get the aeroplane started. So let's have a look. So parking brake is on. We'll get our fuel. There's a little fuel cock here. Switch that on. Let's get the master on, not the avionics. Oh, let me just switch the master off quickly. Another great thing is that you can configure this, and we've got a transponder, we've got a comm radio. If you open the glove box, there's a map. Okay, and you'll see that I've got nearly the right map on. Actually, I've made a change because we were just going to fly to the Roaches, but now we're going to fly up to Buxton. So it's not quite right, this map, not for today's flight. But anyway, you can customize this. So anyway, I'll just hide this. It's quite a nice little feature, actually. It is usable, or you can swap this for a GPS, and I think that's also not well. Actually, you're more likely to have a GPS. You're more likely to have a handheld GPS in an aircraft like this. Anyway, let's get the master on. We're going to get our nav lights. We're going to get our strobe lights on to tell people we're starting up. We've got the fuel is on. Parking brake is on. We'll bring out the choke. Let's have a quick look around. Alright, no one around. So let's start it up. So just crack the throttle open.
Clear prop.
Okay, I'm just going to leave it running at about just over 2,000 RPM. So we've got oil pressure. That's seen, that's okay. And we're charging on electrical system, coolant needs to come up to temperature, and the oil needs to come up to temperature. We'll just leave it ticking over. So while that's running, we'll just put the avionics on. Okay, we're going to squawk 7,000. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, but heck, I'm happy with that. And we're going to press B to get the barometric pressure. Okay, and are we 0? I don't think we are. No, that's not right. Okay, that's a bit odd. I don't know whether that means that Rex is not working, but we're definitely not at 0. Darley Moor, I'm just going to get the airfield information up. On the other screen you can't see it. It's 580 feet. So, yeah, that's not right. Goodness me. Alright, well let's set the QNH manually, so we'll move the Knowlesburn knob to 580. Okay, that'll do. Okay. That'll do. Okay. So let's have a look. Coolant temperature just in the green, so we're good there. Oil temperature is registering. Okay, so let's have a look what the wind is doing. So it says it's just from the west. Doesn't seem to be at any strength at the moment. So what we'll do, we'll take off from 01, which is just a very short taxi to here, and we'll just take off to the north, and then we'll do I think the circuits are left hand, so we'll do a left hand circuit and depart downwind, late downwind onto track. So, and we'll climb to 2,000 feet. Okay, so no flaps needed, so we can just, let's get that choke in. Probably fouled up the plugs a bit. Let's put the parking brake in, and we'll just check no one around, so we can just start wheedling our way across the field. I'm just going to move my joystick so that it is in front of me. Okay, and we're just going to check finals. We're clear. Not natty little squeaking brakes on this. Okay, so right, so now we've got a wind. It's funny. The wind doesn't come in until you start actually rolling. So actually we now need to take off on the opposite way. The wind is now showing 125 at 9. In fact, let me do something. I'm just going to let's keep taxiing. Let's do one thing at a time. I'm going to see if I can add wind into FS HUDVAR. So you've got, you can see the current winds as well. We're just going to keep taxiing. We're on the runway, so we've got a strobe light on. Let's get our landing light on. We don't need panel lights. We're just taxiing with a lot of back pressure on the yoke, the stick, to relieve as much pressure on that nose gear as possible. This really doesn't take very much to take off. So 125 at 9 knots. It's funny, this Rex weather thing, the dynamic weather presets, it just, all of a sudden again, left there, goodbye. Nothing happens, and all of a sudden stuff happens. So we're now 1, 2, 3 at 10 knots, so it does change. It's quite good. I like the weather presets, the dynamic weather presets. Right, so we're just going to turn around. going to put the parking brake on for a second. I'm going to leave it idling at about 2,000. Right, so it's going to edit my HUD bar. And the one I'm using at the moment is a very basic one I've made called Essentials. I'm just going to add wind, if I can find it, that is. Wind direction, speed. That looks good. We'll accept those changes. There we go. So now we've got wind. So we've got aircraft heading and wind. 1, 2, 3 at 10 knots, and we've got a visual indicator there. Okay, so parking brake can come off. So this time we're going to take off. We're going to turn a right turn onto crosswind, keep climbing up to 2,000, and we've got a clock running. So if I just click on the on plan G, you'll see our first stop is Alton Towers. That's on the heading of 275, and it's going to take us 4 minutes. Okay, so off we go. Let's give this a go. Let's see how it works. Okay, lined up. So let's now you see the barometric pressure has changed. So let's set that again. Let's press B. Okay, that's better. All right, it's taking the right barometric pressure there. Okay, so brakes are off. Bringing full power in. We've got into wind aileron and full power coming in. Very gradually. We'll keep some semblance of control. Okay. Well, that's a bit of a dodgy takeoff, that one. But we did have. These things are not made for strong crosswinds. I don't know if there is a cross runway at Darley Moor. I'm not sure. So anyway, we are 300 feet plus, so let's turn onto our crosswind. We'll keep climbing, and we want the first heading was 273. So 273 we'll roll it out on. 273, there we go, 273, oops, overcooked it a bit. 273, 273, there we go. 273. And we'll keep climbing to 2000, and we'll start our clock. Okay, so this leg is going to take us 3 minutes, because of course we've got the wind behind us. So the airspeed is indicated, is calibrated in miles per hour. So 100 equates to 85, I believe, knots, which is what we planned for. So 274 on the heading, and we're just over 2,000. So let's bring the power back. Power just below 5,000 is about 100 knots. And the heading we need is 278. You can see that plan G is changing this on the fly. So 279 we need. 280. Okay, we'll just choose a point in the distance. That's, I think, 14,000 there already, I think. It's saying 281. I'm pretty sure that is Alton Towers. Oops. Thank you very much. That's Rex. Sorry. Great timing. Oh dear, oh dear. Come on. Go away. I can't hide it because it's live. Oh dear. Sorry, everybody. You couldn't write this, could you, really? Let's have a look. 282 on the heading, it's saying that we've got the heading up here, so we're good for now, but I can't tell what our altitude is. It's quite comical, really. There we go. So that is definitely Alton Towers, down there. And we're at 2,000 feet. That's nice, okay. And the heading that we want is 282, and we've got 282 there. Okay, so, and our clock's going, it was a 4-minute leg, yep, and we're at 2 minutes 30. Of course, we plan to not overfly all the towers, and we're just going to transit to the south of it. So Plan G just gives you a little message to say that you're approaching the waypoint. And 4 minutes. Don't forget we started timing just a little bit late. So I think we are now past. Oh, not quite. Just carry on going for a little bit more. Yeah, we can go around now. So next one is 336 on the heading. 336. And I'll reset the clock, start it again. 336. So 336. And this is 6 minutes. This is taking us to Leek. Nice little valley down there. That's where the railway is. Okay. And the wind is now 040 at 6 knots. So very different. So 336. Just keep that heading. And it was 6 knots. 6 minutes. What you do is you just look at a feature ahead of you. So we could use this little hillock here, or that field over there, anything. You can use that as a visual reference. Okay, and you notice how just under 5,000 RPM gives us about 100 miles an hour, which is 85 knots. And that's important because Plan G, you tell it how fast you're going to fly. It doesn't look at your airspeed as a variable. You tell it how fast you're going to fly. So you have to maintain that as be disciplined with your airspeed. So it's 336. And as you can see, it's much harder to read from the magnetic compass, and that is prone to errors, magnetic compass. Just the nature of the beast when you accelerate. And when you turn, there are delays. And of course there is magnetic variation as well to consider. So let's have a look. We have done 2 minutes on this leg. We are just, there's a river to our left. So let's have a look. Yep, got that. Oops, I'm climbing a bit. Of course, if you climb, your airspeed will decrease. If you descend, your airspeed will increase. So it is good practice to maintain the altitude that you said you would. So where that river is, there's also the railway. So we want 336 still. 336. You can change the transparency of FS HUD, which I'll try and do now on the fly. 70% transparent. Let's go for 40%. There we go. That's probably a bit easy to read, isn't it? So 336 still. 2,000 feet. And you see there's a reservoir up there. That's the one that's en route after we get to Leek. So that built-up area that you can just about see there is Leek. So 336, we've got 335. We're going a little bit faster than advertised. One of the nice details in this little Rand's Coyote is that as you go downhill, as you point, as you descend, the prop speed and the engine RPM increase. As you go up, they decrease. So 336, we're on 340. Let's come round a little bit. Of course, if we had a DI on this, that's a mechanical instrument, so you would have to keep aligning that with, oops, now below 2000. There we go, a bit of, ooh, what's that there? That's interesting. Bit of wind shift. Now we've got wind coming from everywhere, really. So this leg was 6 minutes, 336 still heading. Pretty much got that. And we are on 5 minutes. So 336 we've got. And I've just got trim assigned on my joystick. And I can reposition my joystick and keep it to my left. Great for flying Airbus. And I can reposition it to go in front of my yoke. Okay, there's plan G telling us that we're nearing leak. There is leak. And that's fine. So just get the so our next one's going to be 027. It's a 7-minute leg. Round we go. So 027. Restart the clock. 027. Those are the roaches ahead of us. Very prominent, aren't they? There we go. So I can bring this map out just very quickly to show you, because the map hasn't changed, just the route on it has. So if we just look down here, you see you've got the reservoir from Leek, and we're going to the Roaches, but we're actually now flying up to Buxton. So this reservoir should be on our left, and it is. So it's very hard to look at the map and do stuff at the same time. So 027, 2,000 feet. Those are the Roaches, very clear natural feature. And 7-minute leg. But we couldn't use real weather today. Just it's atrocious, the weather today. So just using the trim and the stick just to try and maintain 2,000 feet. Might have nudged it. So 027 we want. Let's just come left a bit. Remember we said we'd parallel the road. I think that's the road there. I've got some very, very good scenery for the UK by Tabouret, and basically it removes all trees and puts them back using Ordnance Survey data, and it's excellent, apart from the fact it's nearly unusable because the amount of excludes that the computer has to process just make it, stutter the whole time. So it needs a powerful machine make the most of it. But it really makes a difference because the whole UK, has a whole new set of what they call biomes, which is the Microsoft MSFS SOBO flora and fauna infrastructure. Okay, so we are just a little slower than we should be. 027 on the heading. We are 3 minutes into this leg. So we are now at the point where we're crossing that road. There's a bit of wind shift there. 027. Because the wind shifted, it's not coming much more from the east. Let's just bring in the 037 now to Buxton. 037. So you see it does this on the fly and it just makes it quite fun. Maybe 037. And it's a 7-minute leg. So that's now quite, well, it's now from the southeast, 130 at 20 knots. So it's now 042. 042. I'll try and keep 2,000 feet. So are we coming up to Buxton? So how many minutes was this? 7 minutes? We've got 5 oops. Gosh. 42. I think this is Buxton on our left. You can see that we're crabbing into wind. It's a rear quartering wind. Wow, thank you. Yeah, and it shifted again. That was a bit of a jolt, wasn't it? To check what the map's telling us. So 043, and it's still 7 knots, 042. Okay. So this is Buxton. Little map will give us a little waypoint reminder shortly. So what would you normally do? I think we used to just look for three things to positively identify there we go. So approaching Manchester. 042. Now we're just descending a bit too much. Okay, let's get the map up. So keep going until the line changes. So is that a quarry there? Looks like it. Okay, so now it's 108. Redo the clock, starting the clock again, so it's 108, 108, we're at 108, that looks like a big quarry there, doesn't it? Yeah, it's marked on Plan G. Plan G is a free download, by the way. So 108 we want, 109, there we go. 103 at once, 104, 104. It's like going to an auction, isn't it? 104, any advance, 104. Going once, going twice, 105. So, yeah, the quarry is marked, so it's good. 108 it wants now. 108, there we go. That's a bit too much. So this leg, there are fewer features to look at. So we've done the quarry. It's a 9-minute leg, 8-minute leg. What we'll do, we'll just keep this little hillock in sight. That will help us maintain our heading. Now it's 101. Goodness me. Let's pick a number, isn't it? So keep that little hillock in sight. I think that's midway point, roughly. So if this is an 8-minute leg, I think. Yeah, that should be 4 minutes. We've done 2 minutes. So 98. The other thing is that there is an autopilot available on this particular aircraft, but I think if you resort to autopilots on an aircraft like this, then I think you need to reevaluate why you're flying something like this, because there's such a lot of enjoyment in flying VFR style flights. It's very, very rewarding to fly them properly. And I know we're only doing it sort of half-heartedly, we're not doing it old school style, but I think this is an acceptable compromise. It certainly makes it easier. Oops, we're descending. Very low. What MSFS is quite good at as well is that when you get wooded areas, you do get a lot of sink and a lot of turbulence. Yeah, losing a bit of. What's it saying? 106. 106. 107. There we go. Ahead of us. The wind is coming 124. It's pretty much on our nose at the moment. Just keep those waterways just in the same place. That will help us keep our heading. We've done 4 minutes on the dot, so we are now at that point. I know you can't see it on the plan, Jeep, but I will put a link, or I will put the map actually up the video. So trying to hold 2,000 feet with those rivers. Okay, and we've done about 4.5 minutes. So those waterways are just before 102 miles, okay. Good. This is a 8-minute leg. Keep this little clump of trees. Trim. I would show you some external views, but then I tend to sort of lose track of or control of the aircraft. I'm doing my best to not even breathe at the moment. Let's go back to side. So we are getting back on track. 101 we're at. I think it was. Let's have a look. 97 in fact. 97. still an 8-minute leg. We've done 6 minutes, so we're 2 minutes away from Chatsworth House. So where is it? We visited Chatsworth House in the summer last year or the year before. Very, very beautiful. There appears to be something on our nose, and it would appear to be in the right place at the right time. So I would say that that is Chatsworth House. So there is a river, there is a lake, we can see a lake, a river, we can see a lovely white building in the form of a stately homes. There it is, Chatsworth House, in all its glory. So this was an 8-minute lake. You just point directly at it now. In fact, when it goes out of view, just go to that lake just in the background. Try and get an overhead view of it. We'll just look at the next one, 162. Okay. So what was the next one? 161 to Matlock. Should we do the clock? So 161, let's just check the, so 162, 4 minutes. And this of course is where we get to see Wensleydale, Lad, 162. We'll wait for that little lake is there. So there's such a lot to be said for flying like this. It just to be able to enjoy the countryside and just pan around and count the cows and sheep as you go past. It's a lovely thing to do. It's all very well navigating on FMCs and or GPS, but this is something very special about it. There's a certain discipline required. The old school is pretty hard in the flight sim, and I just feel this is a good compromise. A good between old school planning and using technology to your advantage, whilst keeping knowledge required and ability up to scratch. So we've done 2 minutes now to the halfway to Matlock. There seems to be a built-up area on our nose. I'll say that is Matlock. So 161, 4 minutes, yeah. 161. Is Rex weather worth it? I don't know. It does do historical weather, but then so does Active Sky. I like these weather presets. I don't think there's enough of them though. These dynamic weather presets. I would like to see more. And I would like to decode METARs around the world, better. And if they say they're going to improve it, then they should improve it, because they did tell me that they'd correct that, but they haven't. It's been 7 months. I just find that difficult, but you can keep counselling. I think, unfortunately, as armchair aviators, we really don't have a voice these days, and I find that a bit difficult sometimes. So approaching Matlock, so we've got Matlock below us, and let's get on the next heading. So it would be Castlington Water, 213, 4 minutes. Okay, so it was 212, 4 minutes. Starting the clock. When I say I'm starting the clock, I've got the Cytec yoke, and it's got a stopwatch built into it, and I use that. I just reset it and restart it. So this is 212. 212. We can see Castlington Water on our nose, so really we don't need to do very much in the way of timings on this one here. Just follow our noses, but we will try and maintain. There's a quarry down there which is shown on the map. Lots of wind turbines up there on the hill. So when we get back to Darley Moor, it's a right-hand circuit. We know we're going to be landing into runway 19. Well, actually, we don't know that. We'll have to wait and see what the winds are like. Just heading towards Castlington. So we'll do an overhead join, descend on the dead side, and then we'll do let's plan for 19. So 19 is a right-hand circuit. We want to go over the 01 numbers. Okay, so 2,000 feet, just Castlington is on our nose. Done nearly 2 minutes. And the wind is now from the north. So maybe we should plan on 01 then. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be when we get there? It might even change when we're in finals. Castlington Water, there we go, and the next one is 225 and 4 miles. 225, 4 miles. So an overhead join. I have got the airfield arrival information. You can just download it from the internet. From the Darley Moor website, but we'll just do a standard one, so we're just going to go overhead at 2,580 feet, or 2,600. So what was the heading? 226. 226. I'm just doing a gradual climb up to 2,500, because that's what we want to arrive at Darley Moor. Changes to the next waypoint. Okay, so 225. Start the clock. 225 we have. Just nearly at 2,500. We'll just press B just to make sure, yeah, so the pressure hasn't changed. 225. Let's look at something outside so we can got this set of fields here, that's fairly distinctive. So we're 2,500. Town down there. That should be, so what's the wind coming from? Okay, so it's a rear quartering from the right. So, yeah, so we'll pass to the, that's Ashbourne, I believe. 226 we want. Yeah, that's Ashbourne there. So we're good. 226 we want. And we've done 1 minute 20. So can we see Darley Moor on our nose? This is good enough. So 225, 226. Good, yeah, there we go. It's on the nose. It's an old RAF base, and you can still see the sort of triangular runway configuration. So let's have a look. The wind's coming from the north. It's going to back as we go down, so still going to be from the north-ish, so it's going to be 01. So we'll fly overhead to 2,500, descend this side, the east side, and go over the 19 numbers. So 225 on the heading, 2,500 feet we've got, and you can now pretty much see the airfield configuration. There's the runway just there. And I think actually Darley Moor, the other bit of the airfield here that's not used is now a racetrack. We are now 3 minutes in, so right, landing light, I didn't switch the landing light off. Let's hide the map. So we're 2,500 feet, a little bit higher than that. 229 on the heading, so I didn't switch the landing light off. Thank you. And we'll descend on the dead side. So the dead side is the eastern side of the airfield, I believe. Anyway, I should have briefed a bit more fully. So approaching Darley Moor. Probably just got a few seconds left before we actually get there. Just keep those out of the way and have a look. There it is. Yep, there's the numbers. So we'll descend now on the dead side. So just pulling the power back. And we want to land on 01, so we want to get over the the 19 numbers. So we don't want to descend less than 1,600 feet. We're descending on the dead side. 500 feet to go. Level off. So there's the 19 numbers there. So we're going to go over those. There we go, level off. We don't want to go too fast in the circuit. turn downwind. So I'm going to roll out the heading of 190. Not too low, thank you. 190 we've got. 190. So let's look to our left. There's the airfield, just there. So around we go. Base leg. Right, we're in flat limiting speed, so we're just going to do one stage of flap. So, hatches and harness, brakes off, pressure is good, undercarriage is down the lock, make sure it's full rich, no mixture anyway, no undercarriage to retract, hatches and harnesses, clearance, lane right, and I've forgotten everything else, so that'll do. Okay, a little bit high. Another stage of flap. Go to finals. Well, I'm not sure where the runway. I think the runway is where it was. A little bit high. Might have to go around. Okay, so welcome to Darley Moor again. See if we can taxi off to the left here. Let's put our flaps up because this is only a fabric covered aircraft, so we don't want any little stones to be picked up by the prop and thrown through the fabric. So we can do landing right. I think there's room to go between the windsock and this side. This is scenery by Neil's Farm Strips, I think. And I think it's from flightsim.com. It's been a park where we started, which is the other side of these flex wings. Okay, so somewhere here. Park it into wind. We will do that. Okay, so park brake can come on. Just let the engine just settle down for a sec. Everything looking good. So avionics can come off. And shut down. Okay, fuel can come off. So then we do our strobes, our nav light, and our master. We can open the door. So let's have one quick look at something. Here's the flight plan. It tells us that we have the whole route would have taken 38 minutes, so pretty much, let's call it 40 minutes. This aircraft will burn 19 litres an hour, so that's, let's call it 45 minutes we've been engine running, so 19 litres, that would be approximately I don't know, 12, 14 litres, something like that. So let's have a look. Look up here. Okay, so we've got 48, so it's used 66, so 18, is it 18%? Something like that. 40, yeah. And we could work it out. We could work out what the fuel burn is. Now that says litres there now, doesn't it? Anyway, it's supposed to have accurate fuel burn, but there's no fuel gauge in here, so you just need to make sure you've got enough on there and just work it out on how long you've had the engine running. Anyway, it's a really, really nice little aeroplane to fly on a route like this, and I hope that's been of interest and helpful if you're looking to do something similar. Alright, take care all. I'll see you on the next one. Bye now. Bye.